Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our conversation with the lovely, the talented, the ever so engaging Aniah Havis. If you stumbled upon this episode before listening to part 1, no worries, mate. They aren't necessarily chronological, but you'll definitely want to also check out the first half of our conversation and hear all about Aniah's theatrical journey and how she approaches each new opportunity. If you have already heard part 1, I know you're anxious to hear more from this fantastic performer as we shift focus to her new adventure in New York City as a student and a young performer. So settle in and enjoy. Part 2 begins now. So, I want to talk about where you're going.
Right.
Sorry. I want to talk about where you're going. I want to maybe use a few more consonants.
Where you're going.
Let's talk about where you're going. You know,
where you're going.
Let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
So you plan to move in like what is today? The 31st? A couple of weeks, right?
Yes, a couple of weeks. Yeah.
So do you have all that mapped out?
Yeah. Well, actually, in New York, I guess it's cool. It's the new trend to not let freshmen do things until the last minute. So I'm actually not enrolled in all my classes at all. They have to let upperclassmen do all that first to like fill up all the classes, and then you get the spots where, I mean, you have a class like every day and like these weird hours, you know. But I mean, that's just part of being a freshman. But I've got my housing lined up. It's like a block away from the school. It's gonna walk there every day. It's pretty expensive for on campus, but I mean, it's better than living out in an apartment in New York because it's very expensive. The cost of living over there.
So it is like school on campus housing?
Yes, it's like the towers. It's like a whole building the university has, I think.
Okay. And you're going to
City College of New York. It's like near Manhattan.
Yeah.
And New York City is a lot bigger than I thought. It's got like boroughs. Don't know what that word means yet, but I guess I'll find out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. And everybody's like, so you're just jumping into this and you've only been there? I've only been there to visit once. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those gut things, you know?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fear, but my thing has always been, you'll be all right. Like, what if you get up there and let's say you mess up, you know, you flunk a quiz or something because you're working like crazy hours and you weren't able to sleep or wake up for class the next day and you mess up. Like, everybody has to learn and adjust, you know, and everybody gets in that headspace where it has to be perfect all the time. And I'd just say you're going to be all right. Like, in order to be like mentally healthy, you just have to tell yourself like, you're going to be all right. Like, are you going to die because you flunked this quiz? No, you do better the next time. You go into after hours, ask the professor, what can you do? Like, and you make sure you understand next time. And that's why I'm just, I guess, not as scared as I should be, because I mean, I know I'll still be alive at the very least.
Well, there's a level of, I guess, healthy fear that kind of drives you, but too much can paralyze you also.
Yes,
and I think it's good that you have that. It seems like you have that balance of like, I know there's some unknowns, but also I'm gonna go step out and figure out, you know, how to handle it.
Because I don't want to not go and then get in a good spot here and get to where I don't want to ever leave, you know. And I just don't want to always wonder what I could have done with my life if I just don't go. Because a lot of people are, you know, happy where they're at. And, you know, Guntersville's great, but I have had a bit of a hard time here. I've talked about it before, but, you know, I mean, I think the theater was like my only safe place away from like, you know, racism and like all this other different stuff in this town and all this other mindsets that you wouldn't think, you know, still exist. And I just have always wanted to be in a place where, you know, everybody's different. Like, there's enough different people out there where nobody cares. I mean, nobody cares about that stuff like skin color. Like, I mean, if you don't like me, that's like the last reason it's for. Like, oh, you don't like my smile? That's a better place to start. Like, it's a better place to start. But yeah, I'm getting stuff lined up. I still have to get some forms turned in soon about, like, you know, immunization, stuff like that, some housekeeping things. But when I get up there, school starts like 2 days after I move in, which is like August 20th.
Do they still have any restrictions as far as like coming in from out of state? You have to have so many days of like a negative COVID test or something like that?
I'm not sure. I think you're supposed to be vaccinated unless there's like a reason, like a real reason you can't get one, like a religious restriction or like a health restriction. But I think after that, I think you're good. I mean, maybe they'll test you when you get there. I don't know. They haven't told me about that. But as far as right now, they need proof of vaccination and immunization records, stuff like that. And I still have to get a couple
that's
because
good that they let that suffice, I guess.
Yeah, I thought I was all good, and then it was like, you have to have this shot within the last 5 years, and I got it in like 2015, so it just missed the mark by like 2 years, so I have to go get it again. But yeah, I'm very excited. I will have to do like regular classes, like core classes, like everybody has to do, because I'm not going to like a performance art school, because their tuition is like $50,000 a year or semester or something. That's where Ty Evans is going, and I mean, kudos to her because she could do it. Like, she's incredible. But since I had already had everything lined up, my mom was like, I think you could audition and get in, but I think since you've already got all your housing and stuff lined up and we've got the payment down, I think we should just, go with this one. You can always transfer, but
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the opportunities are always there. And once you're there, whatever took you there, whether it's, City College or whatever, you may find out, you know what, I want to study this and it's at this school and I know somebody there now because I've lived here for 3, 4, 5 months or whatever. So yeah, I mean, those opportunities are always there. And the Whole Backstage has a community there. I mean, there are so many people who live in the city now who are in the entertainment industry who would be happy to help with even something as simple as, oh, you need a place to stay that's on this side of town or whatever. I mean, Grant made the point during his episode that the Broadway community is a lot smaller than you think. And so, even shaking hands with somebody and them knowing your face, I can imagine is huge. Like, I've said this before, not on the show, but I was having a conversation the other day about just jobs, like the job market since I graduated from college. And, I've never gotten a job where I just like cold sent a resume to somebody, they looked at it, called me, interviewed, and I got the job. Never. It's always been because I had a personal connection there, and they said, we're looking for somebody, or I reached out personally and said, I need something different. It's always like that opportunity came to me because I knew someone to make that connection. Not that I knew someone who would get me the job, but I knew someone where it would even be brought to my attention that opportunity was available. You know what I mean? Like, it's everything I've ever done has been through a personal connection who helped me connect the dots and say, this is available. Kind of like April with you in theater. It's like it was there, but it took a personal connection to get you through the door, maybe, or to give you the idea to come through the door. Yes,
definitely. She's always told me that since I was younger. Like, theater, if you're getting into it professionally, it's like not all about who you know, but that's like a big part. Like, just have your name out there, like networking yourself, like just to know people in the business, even just to give you pointers or like get you an audition or something, even just to get you like the opportunity. Like, getting the job is a whole different process, but like just knowing where the auditions are at, like it's all about, having people, It
helps to have somebody in the room when those decisions are being made to say, hey, I remember this girl that I saw maybe at a different audition. And if they're looking for someone with your skill set, if they know you already, it's like, hey, I've seen her do this. I know she can do it. Let's have her in and see if she's a fit. And that's light years ahead of walking around with I don't even know, like looking for audition announcements stapled to a telephone pole or something, like, and then just walking in cold trying to introduce yourself.
That is one thing I'm scared of, because then you have to like go out and look for auditions and do all that stuff. But talking about this is one of the things, like, I'm really grateful to, like, Sister Act specifically for, because I remember after that show, like, that was kind of like, I'd like to think, like, my first taste of, like, what I'd like. I don't know, it just made me feel special, you know?
Yes.
And so, like, after every show, like, people would come up to me and they'd be like, I've never seen anything like that. Like, that was amazing. And then even people would be like, I've got a niece who lives in New York. Like, I'll give you her number. Like, people, like, giving me people's numbers. Like, my daughter, I think one woman, she was, like, older, and she told me that her daughter worked at, like, a Macy's in New York, like D Macy's or something. And she gave me her number. And I was like, wow, she doesn't know me at all, and she, like, gave me her daughter's, like, phone number, and I just thought that was amazing. I was like, wow, like they kind of, like, trust me with that. I was just blown away.
And I know that's a weird feeling, but don't be scared to use that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think, oh, thanks, but I'm never calling that person. Like, how does that conversation go? Hey, your mom gave me your number.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird on the front end, but that could be somebody, you know, that can make an introduction that is a big deal. You never know. And just friendships, you know, just having a personal connection for any reason, not just professionally, but I mean, they're invaluable.
Yeah, I'm even glad to have, like, still have connections from Sister Act down here, because, like, I remember when I told everybody where I was going to school, they're like, hey, it's going to be hard, you know? Life's going to hit you like a bus, and it's okay, because it hits everybody like that. And if you need a care package, or if you need, like, even me to Venmo you for, like, a pack of ramen, or, like, anything, girl, like, I've got you. And then Rashawn, she was like, I can email you, like, all the ways to make ramen taste good, because that's what you're going to be eating all the time, every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And Ashley Ressler, she was like, I will mail you cupcakes in a jar. That's going to be my new thing.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, she makes amazing cupcakes. Like, if I come, like, when I come back, and if she has a business, I'm going to buy every single cupcake she has in stock, because she made, like, banana caramel cupcakes for, like, the cast one day.
Ooh.
And, like, cookies and cream one. I kid you not, these are the best cupcakes I've ever tasted in my life.
Man.
Like, better than, like, a store's, you know, like, better than, like, a food truck's.
Yeah.
Like, these are, like, homemade, and they were good. Like,
Are they in
really
jars
good.
yet, or is that just, like, something new she's going to do? Because I want to try one of these jar cupcakes.
Well, I told her, because I saw this Shark Tank episode where they, like, put cupcakes in jars and it stays better for longer. And then I was like, if there was, like, a way she could, like, mail me these cupcakes while I'm starving in New York.
Yeah.
Not that I'll be starving, but, like...
No, I mean, I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty fun.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. At least that's what I'm telling myself. It'll be fine.
And you know, like you were talking about, stepping out and taking a chance and doing stuff, and you don't want to wonder, you know. Do that stuff now while you have the opportunity. Like you said, I mean, anything that may come along later, like a career or whatever, family, it's all good, but sometimes, you get into that, not a routine, but like just your life. Just, you know, if you get, like, established in a career, it's hard to walk away from.
Yeah.
It's hard, even if you really want to. Like, it's you keep saying in your head, oh, well, it's a steady gig, like, I'm taken care of. They have health care, they have, you know, all this stuff that you have to figure out on your own if you don't get it from your, you know, but which can be done too. But, like, it's always good to take those opportunities and take those chances and just explore, you know, when there's nothing that you would be neglecting by taking that opportunity. You know, I guess that's the best way to say it. Not something that you're missing out on, because it's, like I said, all that stuff is good. You know,
it's definitely not for, like, everybody. Like, everybody's different. Like, if you're pleased where you're at, like, not to say that in, like, a, you know, any sort of, like, demeaning way. Like, I wish, you know, I could be happy, you know, doing something, I don't want to say useful, but, you know, like a trade where you're like, because other people are in theater, they're like, oh yeah, I just do this as a side hobby. I really just want to be a biochemist. Like, I've always thought, wow, that's amazing, you know? Yeah. And if I could do anything else, you know, I would. But like, the fact that I found this and I love it so much, I cannot imagine doing anything else with my life and being happy. And then I'm just a person who's wired like, if I'm gonna have a job, I have to enjoy it. It can't be just for the money, you know? And some people are like my mom, she's in a very, you know, business wired way. But me, I could be happy like in a shoebox apartment if it meant I was getting to do 8 shows a week, you know? Yeah. Like if it meant I didn't get to have all these material things. If I had a job like I really loved, like I wouldn't consider it like work. I would just, you know, like my life, you know? And it doesn't really matter to me what it pays. Of course, everybody's like, you say that now, youngin', but really that's how I've always felt. It hasn't really ever mattered to me like what I'm gonna make. As long as I can feed myself and get to do what I like, I think I'll be happy. And even if it's not on Broadway, if I'm getting to do community theater in New York, I feel like that's a version of making it in my book, you know?
Yeah.
Like
making it is whatever you think it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
If you wake up and say, man, I'm glad I get to do this every day and I don't care what else I do. You know, I'm happy right here. Then you've made it. You know?
I agree.
I
agree. My version of making it is being happy with my job. And other people's version of making it is making 6 figures. And that's just who you are.
It could be,
you know?
6 figures. It could be the address of the theater that you're performing in. It could be a Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are on Broadway and still feel like they're on step 1.
Yeah.
You know, like they're performing and it's not enough. You know, they have to get the Tony or whatever.
Yeah.
Or the TV show. Like they're just doing Broadway because that's the gig they got.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like people on Broadway, it's like I was watching all these interviews, like, because that's what I'll do in free time. Like I'll watch like interviews with like people who've been on Broadway. I was watching this like table talk with the cast of Falsettos, and they don't refer to it as like the amount of Tonys they've won. They're like, how many Tonys have you been nominated for? Because they recognize them for like being nominated for the Tony and not how many you've won, because, you know, that's like an achievement in itself. And like that's what that made me think of, because that's a version of making it in itself. Like everybody gets so caught up in, oh, she won the Tony Award or she won Best Actress, but you forget about like all the people that got nominated for Best Actress. Like somebody saw you and said that, hey, maybe like she could be the Best Actress of like the year, and that is an incredible achievement by itself. But everybody gets so caught up in, oh, well, who really won? Like, was it Meryl Streep or was it like Sarah Paulson, or, you know, was it Audra McDonald or was it, you know, Idina Menzel, you know? And, you know, if you're that talented to get on that caliber, I think
you're on the same piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know,
you're already on that list. I don't see a difference in them at that point, you know?
Yeah.
At that point, it's just like a little statue you get to hold. And, you know, that's a really big accolade in itself, but even just being nominated is incredible.
Well, it's like, you know, on vocal, like, competition shows, there's a winner, but guess who gets record deals? Like, the top 5, probably. Yeah. You know, I mean, and then from there, you can take it wherever you want. There are second-place winners who are way more successful musically than first-place winners from that show. I mean, who was it? Carrie Underwood? Did she even win? Or was she... Like, she was on something like, I don't want to say The Voice, but it was the one before that.
American Idol?
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
But I don't think she won. And now she's Carrie Underwood, right? I mean, like you're saying, I mean, if you're recognized to get that far, nominated or win or not, you've been nominated. Somebody recognized what you did in your career, in the season, in that show, whatever. So, yeah, that's important.
Definitely is.
So,
like, if you can say you won in your own book, I mean, then you're pretty much set. I mean, that establishes your confidence and your drive, you know, and it's not like limiting yourself. I just think if you have to see you have to see yourself for like I don't know how to put this in a way that doesn't sound corny, but you have to see yourself for like all that you've done already. Like not just did you win this in the end. Like if you've gotten this far, like that's amazing. Like that's how I view like audition process is at the very least like that's one step. Like I remember for Little Shop, like the fact that you get, called back. I mean, even if you don't get called back, that's not a bad thing. But if you do, I've always just gotten like, wow, like you've gotten this far, like you can keep pushing. But the fact that you're like, if you're like a young competitor against like, people who are older than you and people who have been doing it for longer, I was like, I viewed that as like an achievement as itself. So, Well,
you have to have those milestones of achievement for your own recognition, and I was going to say like, so you're moving to New York for school, you want to do this, you want to try to do some auditions or whatever. What's the dream? Like, do you get to Broadway and then you're good, or you want to just keep going as far as you can? But it sounds like just the love of theater, like participating in that, whatever level it's on, feels like success to you.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's the best way. I mean, you explained it better than I can explain it myself, because they're like, oh, so you want to be on Broadway or do you want to be like a teacher? And that's like the only two things they can see. And my mindset is like, as long as I'm doing it, I'll be happy, like no matter like the paycheck. Because, I mean, even if you're on Broadway, you can still not get paid a lot. Like you're still like an actor, and it all depends on how far your name is out there, how far you've networked yourself. Like, I mean, I looked up the salary and it's like you can make anywhere from like $50,000 to $80,000 a year, like as ensemble. But then you see people like Sutton Foster. Obviously, she's making more because she's been doing this for a long time. Her name's been in the game for a long time. And see, with that starting salary, I'd be happy. If I was an ensemble character on Broadway, whew.
How fun would that be?
That would be so fun.
Like you could pay me, like you said, you could pay me the low end of that, and it would be like I'd be happy, because I get to do the shows.
Yeah,
and you get to be in the theater, and you get to see the audience and experience. Adam Carboni and I talked about stagecraft during his episode, and some of the stuff that they do, that they invent or that they just utilize, that they have access to, is mind-blowing. Like the way they solve production issues and like the stages. I remember the first time I saw a stage that had certain like tracks or like the circles that turn around and they walk and they're walking but they're not going anywhere because the stage is rotating. Or like if you see like a movie or whatever, if they did a stage movie, I don't know what they call them, I've heard the term before, but like when they film a Broadway show like Shrek, like that's a Netflix movie now, the Shrek the musical, but they filmed it in a theater, and when they show the views from looking down on the stage, you can see all the different parts. It's not a flat, well, it is a flat stage, but it's not just plank wood stage. There are circles and there are walkways, and all that stuff moves on its own. Some of it rises up, some of it, I mean, I can't imagine everything that goes into that, and being able, like, how do you look at that and visualize a show that you want to put on stage, and you put yourself in the audience place and say, this is what I want them to see, and then let's make that happen on stage. I mean, that kind of stuff, just like,
that problem solving is amazing to me. Like, that's one of my dreams as well, just to like be on one of those stages, like, and get to walk in place. I mean, that sounds small, but like, no, those rotating things,
I mean, it can happen. There's too many things going on in that city for you to miss out on. I know, like, I don't know what show, I don't know when, but I want to come see it when it happens.
Thank you.
And I want to say, look, there she is walking in place. On the
there she is walking
stage.
I could like not have any lines. Like I just want to be walking in place. As the stage is like going in circles. That's it.
Man, that's going to be so fun.
Like, I've made it, y'all.
Yep.
I'm walking in place.
I was on the rotating stage.
Yep.
This is Whole Backstage Live on WBSL Radio. This episode was recorded in Alabama's oldest continuously operating community theater, the Whole Backstage. We could not do what we do without our generous sponsors and donations from people like you. Connect to all of our social media with a link in the show description and learn how you can be part of our mission to provide our community and surrounding areas with a positive outlet for the performing arts. There will be lots going on as we prepare to celebrate our 50th season as your community theater, kicking off in September 2023. Please make a point to subscribe or follow us so you are kept in the loop on our new season and all the opportunities to celebrate this milestone as a community. Now, to finish our conversation with our very dear friend, Aniah.
That was about... I wanted to talk about Sister Act, though.
Oh, yes.
Because...
Love talking about Sister Act.
Well, that show all the way around was one of the best shows I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Not because I was doing sound. No, but like the individual performances in that show, mm-hmm. and your performance there. I had never seen the stage show. Mm-hmm. I knew the story because I had seen the movie.
Yes.
But I had never seen the stage show before. Mm-hmm. And the music is so well done.
Yes.
The ensemble that Diane put together to perform that show, I mean, y'all did an amazing job together.
Yeah.
And there were moments when I had seen, let's see, how many I saw however many rehearsals I was there for, mm-hmm. setting up the sound and the mics and getting everything ready to go for opening. But then I experienced the show every night in the sound booth. I had heard those songs. I had seen your face. I had seen the show, mm-hmm. but it affected me every single night. Like I felt so privileged to be in the theater every night. I mean, the whole show was fantastic. Everything. I mean, I know I keep saying that, but the way you guys sounded, I mean, the way y'all presented certain scenes, I'd watch it again.
I wish I could see it, I wish I could have. It was amazing to be in it. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything, but I wish I could just sit down and have seen it live. Like, recording it is one thing, but I wish I could have sat and watched myself. And everybody wants to do that, but I just want to see how it all turned out, just to see if what people say and if I would have graded it that mm-hmm. way, myself. Because I remember when I first told my mom, I was telling her about the show, and she was like, "So is it like the movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's like the movie with Whoopi Goldberg." And she was like, "Oh, so it's gonna have "Oh Happy Day" in it?" And I was like, "No, it doesn't have any of the songs from the movie in it." And she was like, "What? How could you guys do this? How could they remove the songs from the movie?" And I was like, "No, I watched the musical last night at 2 a.m. and it was so funny. You're gonna love it." But I wouldn't let her watch any of it until she got there. And I remember it was opening night, and it was one of the first nights, and I came out, and my mom is, she's my biggest fan, but she's also my toughest critic, because she'll come out of any show, she'll be like, "Yeah, this part was kind of weird," or "This joke didn't really hit, y'all should do that differently." Mm-hmm. She always has notes,
which is always helpful too.
And yeah, it is. But she came out of this one, and you could tell she doesn't like to cry in front of people, and you could tell where she had wiped her tears, and you could tell she had just been crying, and it was in that moment I knew we had done a good job. I can hear 100 people come past me and be like, "That was great, that was amazing, that was the best show I've seen," and that is amazing. I was so grateful. But to have your mom, who never cries, had no notes, and she just hugged me, I was like, okay, this is a good show. Mm-hmm. This is good. That's how I knew it was pretty good. And I was like, wow, this show must be great. If my mom likes it. And I was really grateful to be a part of a show that she just really liked, because I remember after the sorry, this is kind of unrelated, but it ties in, I swear. So the cast list for Hunchback came out, and I really wanted Esmeralda, and I got it because I'd prepared a lot, and I knew that if I was not going to get it, it was because I didn't fit. It wasn't because I wasn't prepared, because I'd learned all the songs. Like, as soon as she announced the show, I went and listened to all the songs in its order, like the 2-hour musical. And it's such a beautiful show, and I was just so honored to be chosen for that role. But then somebody called me like an hour after the cast list comes out, and they were like, hey, because they were auditioning, they were rehearsing for a different show in Albertville, and they're like, hey, this girl, she's saying that you only got Esmeralda because you're black, and that's the only reason you got it. And then I was just like, oh, okay. And then so it made me feel like I couldn't be proud of myself, you know, like that nobody, they were just dismissing it, you know, they were dismissing the fact that I got it, and they were like, oh, she only got it because of this reason, not because she can sing the songs or because she knew the lines or because of any of that. It's because she's black. And then I remember for Sister Act, I knew Whoopi Goldberg, I know she's black, I know the character in the movie is black, and I know the one who played it on Broadway was black. So I always had that worry in the back of my mind when I auditioned for this show. I was like, are people going to think the same thing? Like, if I get Deloris, like, are they going to think it's just because I'm black? And then I remember I told Will Casey, and he was like, Aniah, no. I cannot imagine anybody else playing it the way you did. And, you know, if I would have had to, I would have gotten anybody else up there. But no. I did not only choose you. Like, we did not only choose you. That was not only the reason. And the fact that people would even say that is heinous and, like, disgusting. And then, so when he said that, it kind of, like, took this weight off my shoulders, because when the cast list for Sister Act came out, there were none of those comments were made. Like, nobody was saying those things, and it was just the most relieving thing ever, because I was like, oh, there's no ill will towards me. This is great. This is what theater is supposed to be. Like, it's... Yeah. I was just really grateful for that experience, because even though I am black, like, people at the theater see me as more than that. Like, I'm more than what the role calls for. Like, they don't only call me because they need someone of that color to play that role. They call me because they've seen me in shows before, and they know I can do it. And that's why I love coming back here, is because they see me as more than what everybody else sees me as at school and stuff. So that's why Sister Act is so important to me, because they told me that's not the reason we chose you. It's because you could do it.
I mean, there will always be people who think things that are not true, and they may express those things because they don't feel good about themselves. So they want other people to not feel good about themselves, but that doesn't make it true at all. And, you know, anybody who thought anything like that coming into this show, your performance would have shut them straight up. I mean, oh my gosh. When I was talking to people about this show, and they would say, yeah, that girl who played Deloris was incredible. And I would say, she is a senior in high school. And their jaw hit the floor. Like, no. Yeah. I mean, your voice, like, I'm telling you, that show, the music was so well done, but you stepped into it as it was written. You know what I mean? Like, you can always sing songs as, like in a junior show, Shrek Junior. Like, you hear a song that you know from the Broadway show with mature voices, but then you hear kids singing it, and they do a fantastic job, but they sing it as a kid, right? But the music in that show, we didn't do Sister Act Junior, right? We did the full-on Sister Act, and your voice filled that role as much as it could be filled.
Thank you. I'm glad you think that, because when I got there, I was so scared. I just kept listening to the songs, and I was like, oh, Patina, because that's our name. I was like, oh, girl.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting that high C there. It really,
right.
It really just puts a cherry on top.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, my first rehearsal with Will, he was like, hey, this is your role. You do it however you want to. You don't have to do it exactly how she did it. And people didn't know. They didn't know that wasn't like the way it was written. Because I stayed loyal to most of the soundtrack stuff, but some really high notes she would hit, I'd be like, oof, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit that every night for like 2 weeks. But yeah. And then it was always funny because people, they would come up to me after and they're like, I know you get hot up there. Like... So singing the part is one thing, but singing the part while you're like jumping around in a floor-length black dress while the light is
four layers of costume.
Yeah, it was the hardest song for me was that Raise Your Voice into Sunday Morning Fever stretch. Oh my goodness. Like, I get chills thinking about it. Like, I would do Raise Your Voice. I'd have the baton in my hand. I was throwing my head around. Like, I'd be bobbing my head so hard the, like, wimple flew off.
Yep.
And I was jumping around, jumping over, you know, the seats. And then I had to change into that, I had to put another layer on of clothing. Like, it was already burning up. And then you have to put another robe on. And then you have like 5 seconds to get it together. Hannah was back there. Hannah Grace Joe, she was like fanning me and she was giving me water and she put on my robe and stuff. And then she was like, breathe slow, breathe slow. And that's the last thing you want to hear in that moment because all you want to do is hyperventilate because you're so tired. And I was like, and it was like, I thought I was dying for a second. And then she was like, just slow it down. Because if you slow down your breathing, it slows down your heart rate, it slows down the whole thing. But then you just want to suck up as much air as you can. Because if not, you feel like you're drowning for a minute because you got all those layers of clothing on and you know what's to come. It's this another 5-minute song where you got to do another bit of jumping around and singing. And it's just amazing because you forget all that tiredness when you come out. And it wasn't Sunday Morning Fever, was it? Was it Raise Your Voice into... Yes. Was
you
it?
Talking about before intermission?
Yes. What was that song before intermission? It was Take Me to Heaven Reprise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Raise Your Voice into Take Me to Heaven Reprise. You know it's about to get hot because you put on that like thing that reveals. And then all that tiredness goes away when you turn around and you reveal the thing and the audience was like,
yeah.
And I was like, okay, sure, you're hyperventilating, but this is fun, ain't it? You know, and you're walking around and dancing around and jumping around and you're having fun with each other. And you're getting to be yourself. Like, that's one thing I loved about Deloris. It wasn't like you had to be someone else all the time. Like, it was like me coming out. Like, I was like, hey, girl, you know. Yeah. Like, on stage, you get to, like, joke as Aniah. Like, it wasn't always, like, as Deloris. And...
because you get to sing and dance with all your friends. Like, that's essentially what she was doing.
Yeah. And they'd be like, I know you get hot up there. And I'd be like, yeah. And then so after that number... I remember Eliza would come, run as soon as the curtain would close, she would come run to me. She'd put my arm over her shoulder, and we'd go to the quick change room. They'd turn on the fan, and I had ice packs on my thighs. Like, it was
15
crazy.
Minutes to cool down.
Yep. It was crazy. It was crazy. There was a couple times I didn't think I was going to get back up. I was like, oh, I got to do this.
I'm good.
I got to do this in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, I was just really hot. I'm fine. But yeah, it was definitely the hardest, most physically taxing role I've ever done because it was so hot.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, with all those stage lights, oof, it was hot. But it was also the most fun. That and Donkey were the most fun.
So weren't you doing Sister Act and Hunchback at the same time?
Yeah. Yes, I was doing them at this. I would be at school all day, and then 3 to 6 I would have Hunchback rehearsal, and then 6:30 I would come do Sister Act until we got done. So we wouldn't leave till like 9:30 some nights or 10, just depending on how long we talk after, how long notes are, you know, or if you have to work out a really big scene and everybody's there for once. And then you have to wake up for school in the morning, and then everybody's like, how are you not tired? And then for me, that was the closest thing right now I can equate to what I want my life to be. Like, I just want it to be theater. Like school, it was just one of those things I had to suck it up and deal with. But like the theater schedule after, like the hours straight of theater, that's what I want my life to be like. It's just
passion driving you.
Just theater, you know?
Yeah.
And it was so great to have these two different shows that were so contrasting this year. Like Hunchback, it was like sad. It was a very sad show. You know, it had beautiful music in it, and it had a couple fun moments. And then Sister Act is just comedy, you know? And so after doing all that sad stuff, you know, like having to act out all the sad scenes and the violent ones, you get to come here and dance around in purple boots and hoochie mama skirts and stuff and like get to dance around in your nun habits and stuff. It was really fun. It was definitely a contrast. It was hard to switch it on and off, you know?
Yeah.
Like, be super funny with one and, like, be super sad with one.
Well,
But-
even in Sister Act, there was that contrast because
Yeah.
you had the really funny stuff with the sisters and like when you first showed up and bless you. Oh my gosh, that killed me. And then you walked past. Who was on the end? It wasn't Kristen, was it? I think it was. You walked past her and then turned around.
Yeah.
Like,
That was
surprised her.
Kristen, yeah.
Bless you too. Oh man, yeah, that killed me. But then you had the you're really scared of Curtis moments.
Yeah.
You know, like
I was always scared of people would think that was like, because one thing my teacher will always tell me was Ardro, she will always be like, as an actor, you always have to feel. You can't put your walls up, and you have to feel everything your character's feeling, you know? And for me, that was really hard because it's like, okay, I know Tony, and I know he's not here to kill me, so like, how do I make the most authentic, you know, performance? You know, how do I really feel like I'm, you know, there? So I would always wonder, is the audience really feeling like I'm scared right now? Like, are they really there? And so the only person I would ask that is my mom. I was like, did it really like look like I was sad in this part, or look like I was like, you know, scared? She'd be like, yeah, it did. Because I was always just, I mean, skeptical of the performance I was given, because, you know, I can't see it. And all you can do is try your best and hope people believe it, you know.
well, and wearing a full nun habit, all you have is your face, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, all of that came across that was probably a discovery for everybody in that cast. Like, oh, nobody's going to see if I move my arms or like if I move my body that much. All I have is my face. And I mean, like I said, it came across really, really well. Like y'all used the tools you had to put on an amazing show.
Thank you.
Like I said, I think I'd watch it again. I mean, still. And I saw it 7 times in a row.
Oh, I wish I could have seen it. Oh.
You will. I mean, the recording, but I mean, you know, I think we'll get to watch it soon.
I hope so.
So, I really appreciate you sitting down with me. I know with everything on your mind, moving in like 2 weeks or whatever, getting everything lined up, making sure you have everything in place. I mean, you know, that's got to be a lot. So I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk. I know people are going to love hearing from you. And like we've been around each other.
Yeah.
But I learned a ton of stuff I never knew about you. And I loved it. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I learned new stuff about you too, so I appreciate it.
I try to share some, make you know, put a face to the voice behind the. Never mind, that's not going anywhere. So,
This was really fun.
good.
Yeah, this is an amazing.
We'll see
idea.
how it turns out.
I'm so glad you asked to have me, because I feel like these types of things, they immortalize you a little bit, because you can look back and you'll be like, oh, this was where I was at in my life, you know. And I'm really excited. It's weird. I'm excited to listen to this like 3 years from now.
Yeah,
like
or long. I like. Yeah, it'll be around. Hopefully, people have access to it forever. Well, not you know what I mean, forever. But yeah, I think about the same thing. Like, it's interesting to go back and see where we were, or what was important, or what our plans were, and how they actually changed or worked out, or whatever. And you know, the thought process. But I think listening to you talk about what it is you want to do, I think you could end up in any number of a dozen different cities or situations or whatever, and you'll be exactly where you want to be, you know, because it's just your passion for performing that drives your choices and your thought process and your measure of your own success. And I think that is probably what will be the most important, is your measure of your success is what you gauge it to be. And that's going to mean a lot to you, I think. And because of that reason, no matter where you end up, if you get to perform, that's not a good sound. If you get to perform, I think you will be happy, because that's exactly what you've told me. And I'm just super happy for you, and I admire that.
You.
And I'm really happy that other people get to know that about you and appreciate you that much more.
Thank you.
So, Did I miss anything?
I think we covered a lot of it. Yeah.
Heck yeah, we did. Good.
This episode of Whole Backstage Live was recorded in Alabama's oldest continuously operating community theater, the Whole Backstage. Take a moment to visit our website or check the show description for a link to all of our social media. Follow us for upcoming events and announcements about how you can be part of our mission to provide our community with a positive outlet for the performing arts as we look forward to celebrating our 50th season as your community theater. Contact this show at wholebackstagelive@gmail.com for sponsorship opportunities. Thank you for listening. Keep coming back and stay kind.